For fast, cheap, and reliable Madden 21 Ultimate Team coins, make sure you guys go check out my sponsor U4GM Coins. Use code VENM at checkout for 5% off your order. Yo, what's good guys? Venom Fire here, back to the video, and today I'm going to be going over another one of my favorite run offenses in Madden 21. Now, a lot of people I think are going to start running the ball a little bit more. If you didn't know, in the latest patch, receivers are just randomly dropping the ball wide open. I've had it happen to me, and I have the gift wrapped ability on my quarterback. My players still drop the ball. So I'm thinking about going back to the run, and I'm going to provide you guys with one of my favorite run schemes that I've used this year and know works. Now, we're going to be in the Raiders offensive playbook, probably the best playbook in the game in my opinion. It's got run formations, it's got pass. Right now I'm running trips out of the Raiders playbook, but we still do have tons of great run options as well. The formation we're going to be running today is going to be the single back wing slot. Now, one thing about this formation is that it's going to be a 2 tight end set. So we got our 2 tight ends right here on this left side, and then we got our 2 wide receivers. Now, I do recommend getting a fast receiver in the slot, or just 2 fast receivers. You'll see why in a second. But with that being said, let's go ahead, hop into our audibles. I've already gone ahead, preset them, but what you want are stretch alert bubble, halfback dive. Now, one thing, they actually used to have a dive alert bubble. I guess they took it out. But there was a dive bubble play for whatever reason. I think in this newest patch, they actually took it out, which is unfortunate, but it's not the biggest deal. Anyways, you got PA boot slide and then PA boot. Yes, they're 2 different plays. But I'm going to start out with the run game here, and yeah, I'll catch you on the field. Here we are out on the field now, and you see I got my receivers on this right-hand side. Now, the reason that I do that is for the RPO bubble in particularly. This was more important when the dive was also a bubble, but now it's not as important because the dive's just normal now. Before the bubble screen, it's a lot easier to throw it when they're on the right side. Your QB, if you're throwing a bubble on the left side and you have a right-handed QB, he will do some weird like reverse pivot animation. I'm not going to show it, but just know when you're throwing the bubble on the right side, it's a lot smoother. So I'll throw it, and you see Derek Carr, he's throwing it very smoothly. There's no, delay or anything at all. And you see we're able to throw it right when I hold the button. If I were to flip it, Derek Carr would do some weird reverse pivot like in basketball. I don't know how to explain it, but it is very annoying to deal with. Again, it is still throwable on the left side. It's just a lot smoother on the right. So again, keep that in mind when you're running the play. But we got the dive, got the alert bubble. Now, one thing about the RPOs is you want to make sure you wait to throw them. You want to wait for the bubble to develop. If I just snap throw it, that cornerback is going to be right there, and you see I got no chance of making a miss. Really, when you're running this, you want to throw the bubble at the last second if that's what you're going to do. So I'm going to run, and then I can throw it right there at the last second. You see I got a little bit more separation, and even though that cornerback is playing the flat zone, so he's in a flat assignment, he's going to play that flat. We still got way more separation waiting to throw it, and you can really wait until the very last minute to throw that pass, which is definitely a nice thing to have. It might take a little bit of practice if you do not know how to do it, but really just hold the button right when you're about to hand the ball off, and you'll get that football off quickly. And again, this is with the cornerback playing the flat, so imagine how open it would be if there was no cornerback or defensive back at all right here. Sometimes they will play the inside, or if they have a cornerback on the other side, there will be completely nobody there. But really, this bubble is definitely killer, especially when you run that stretch. You hand it off a couple of times, which is what I recommend doing before you even run the bubble. But also what this bubble does is it's forcing them to take another player out of the run. So this player, he can't defend the run at all. You need 2 receivers out, which is something that the wing flex close prevents because there's no bubble. They can really compact the box and really stop you. But let's move on to the stretch. Let's run the stretch. And the stretch is definitely very solid play. It's very difficult to defend because of how much firepower you have on this right-hand side with the bubble. So it really does force your opponent to almost put a man out there. Otherwise, he would have to use the bubble. And really what that does is it's going to open up the stretch a lot. You see, look at all the blocks we are getting right there. Josh Jacobs with a lot of space out there. And although he's not even the fastest player, we're going against a very good defense as well in the 49ers. I think Nick Bosa is still playing. They haven't updated it yet. But yeah, you see Josh Jacobs just able to go crazy on that sideline. Now, another thing you can do, let's say he's just completely locking down your bubble. He's manning him up, putting this guy in a hard flat, whatever. So this player is pretty much out of the play. Something you can actually do out of this formation that's a lot of people don't do or know about is you can actually motion Tyrell Williams across the formation. So you see I motioned him over. pretty much nothing happened except a little shift in the defense, and now you see we get even better blocks than we'd had before. So that's something that's very underrated. And a lot of times in these pass setups I'll talk about a little bit later, we do end up motioning one of the receivers over. So we might think it is a pass play when indeed it is actually a run play. Now obviously you can't really throw that bubble. You saw there still is a little bit of space to throw it. But again, typically you don't, because if that was cloud flat or hard flat or whatever, they might be able to pick you off. Now again, it is important that that receiver actually picks up his block. You noticed on that previous play, he didn't pick up his block. So you can sort of snap it right there before he actually gets set, and then he's pretty much guaranteed to at least pick up that block. But again, just mix things up. You can obviously mix things up like this. You can sort of motion over a tight end that will shift the defense to the right, and then you can still run the stretch to the left. That will also help for the blocking on that right-hand side with the bubble. But with that being said, let's move on to the dive. Now dive, again, something I previously mentioned is I like to run this motion this player over. So again, giving the stretch and the dive the same look. I feel like that gives overall better blocks. Now we are in a very compact formation defensively, so the blocks might not develop as good as you would like, but you see we're still able to get very decent blocks up the middle. And again, I do feel like this is more of a wide run offense or offense in general, but the halfback dive is very solid. You see, even though Eric Armstead's one of those really good D linemen, he's going to get a lot of block sheds. This is still a very solid run formation. You see, you can actually bounce it out to the right or to the left, which I did right there. Now the good thing about this year is they fixed it where if I were to run it to the left, I would get a slower animation. So this year, it doesn't matter if you run it to the right or left, you'll get the same animation. You see, look at the blocks up the middle right there, develop very perfectly. And if you just mix between stretch and dive, your opponent's really not going to know which player to use or where you should shoot the gap, and it's going to be very frustrating. So you see, I'm picking up pretty much 5 yards before contact, pending an instant shed or whatever. And if I were to run the dive, I could actually motion one of these players in. I could motion Ruggs in right there. I feel like that gives better blocks. Now I actually motioned him at a bad spot to where he ran that bubble. Like some weird reverse bubble. It is pretty annoying, but you can motion there, and then he'll sort of run up the middle. Again, just mix things up, motion certain receivers over. And again, a different way that you could bluff the stretch is maybe just to motion Tyrell completely across the formation. Now he's like, oh, it's dive. He's motioning another receiver to the left. Can still be, it's stretch. Now it's dive, and you should be able to cut that out depending on how the blocks develop. But again, definitely good to mix in. You see, we got a lot of blocks. We have a lot of run potential, a lot of big play potential with this play. And again, the stretch and dive, you cannot go wrong between them. You also mix in that bubble, mix in a couple of different motions. You'll be good to go. With that being said, let's move into some of our pass plays. I'm going to start out with probably my favorite out of the formation. It's going to be the PA boot. Now again, these aren't necessarily like the best passes in the game, but they complement the run formation very well. When you're running Oakland, typically you want to switch between formations. So I actually dropped a video on wing flex close in the very beginning of the year, so you can go back and watch that one. But these two tie in very similar together. And the wing close, it's really a better pass formation than this, I would say. So really, you can switch between those two, and you can switch between, deuce close. There's a lot of audibling potential with this formation. But let's just hop into some of the stock dots I got out of here. So what I like to do is throw A on a drag, RB on a streak, and B on a slant. Now we are again in the PA boot, not the PA boot slide. But you see, we got a little bit of a weird route combo, but the reason for that is we're going to motion Tyrell over. I really don't like having the two receivers on the same side. I like to motion them over. And you can also motion snap that slant, but you see we got a drag. We got this little backside slant that's going to be very difficult to use. And again, if he's going to play over the top, you can check down to that drag, or again, really does depend. This crosser is going to beat man coverage as well. I'm not running man specifically right now, but it will beat the man coverage. So again, you're just going to put A on a drag, RB on a streak, B on this backside slant. You can actually motion snap him. And here I'm going to try and hit the crosser across the formation. Right there, you see we are able to. I probably should have just passed that up there instead of to the side, but we are still able to get that completion. Now again, you can also mix in certain things. I could leave B on his little post route, and then maybe I smart out it so it's a little bit shorter. And then if that were the case, what I would do is maybe Go ahead, motion Ruggs over. Maybe I throw him on a curl, put Witten on a little flat route, and then with Waller, I put him on like a dig or whatever. You can really, the sky's the limit with this. I got a little curl flat. I got a little post route. I could obviously go with Josh Jacobs, create a concept similar to this with the wheel route and the out route. But again, mixing in certain things like this will be very good. And again, in a formation where you don't really expect to pass the ball all too much, having some extra dots in the back in case you get in a 3rd and 10 or whatever is very, very nice to have. So again, I could throw Y on a little wheel route, X on a little out route, and then what I would do is put maybe A on a drag or a dig. I like the dig to post combo a little bit better, dig or the in route to post. But again, take a look at Josh Jacobs. He's going to be very open on this little wheel route concept right there. Nobody close to defending him. So that's one of my favorite single back route combos. But again, mixing in certain things like that, you got a post, you got a crosser. The sky's the limit with the offense. But again, let's move into our last play, the PA boot slide. Now with this play, you see we got a wheel route. This play was definitely one of my favorites last year because of the wheel route. This year, the wheel routes really aren't that good against man specifically. They're good against cover 2, but not too many people are running cover 2 run defenses. But as far as the route combo, what I like to go ahead and have on my field is usually I like to have X on a zig and B on a slant. I'm going to block my running back and I'm going to put RB on either an out or a flat. Usually it'll look like this. Again, this is just the base route combo. We got a lot of underneath routes, things of that nature. Depending on how far his zone drops are or whatever, either the zig or the crosser will usually be open. If they're playing default, usually you're going to want to hit that zig route. Again, I could also mix it in like this where I throw X on the streak instead of the zig. What that does is it'll usually act as a clear out and it'll really open up Darren Waller a lot more open as Madden 21, ladies and gentlemen, right there. But you see Waller had a lot more separation on that pass with the clear out. Obviously, I could also put B on the clear out and then do something similar to this. You can always leave the play action if you want. I actually like play action a decent amount this year. Again, he drops the ball, great game, EA. But yeah, play action is actually pretty solid to mix in. I noticed a lot of people with their user biting down and with the users not necessarily being too fast, or if they're using a safety on the left side, maybe they bite down, they don't have enough time to pick up on Waller. Waller also, or your tight end, if he's fast enough, will beat man coverage. So that's definitely nice to have as well. And if I wanted to, I could always go ahead and maybe throw Josh Jacobs on a little out route. You don't have to block him every single play. So I could always go with a route combo like this. So I have 2 flats and then I still do have my clear out. The clear out against cover 3 can also get open, but you see really the guy you want to hit is Darren Waller as he's going to drop it a 3rd time for us, but you see the dots open. Now I don't really have as many dots out of this, I would say, but you can mix in certain things like maybe a motion or whatever. Again, it would be better if I had like a little tight end apprentice, but unfortunately we don't. But this, even a combo like this, you got a backside drag, you got a little whip route. I could throw him on maybe a hitch route if I wanted to. And then you got this little S route with Tyrell Williams. Little crosser action, and you see he's going to get pretty open. So again, you can really mix in certain things, try new things. If you want, you can go in practice mode live this yourself. But yeah, it's pretty much going to do it for the video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And peace. I'm out of here.